If you go back to a slide, I'd just chime in
Mhm.
something that you'll hear about. It does have some differences sometimes culturally. So in cultures where people read like left to right, right? So like in US English, you'll see eyes kind of follow this pattern they call the F pattern, where on the first row they read the whole sentence or two, and then they kind of scan, and it kind of looks like the letter F, which is why it's called that. But then if you look
Correct.
in cultures where people read right to left, it can go the other way. And, certain cultures as well, such as like Eastern, like Asian countries, tend to have a lot more density of content that performs better versus like more white space is preferred. So it doesn't fit like a hard and fast rule. And sometimes, multiple design patterns might be right, just depending on what area or culture you might be designing for, probably dependent on other things as well. But this is just an example where, to Alabash's point on quantitative research, you're going to want to find ways of testing that and understanding, did 50 people choose the left design and 10 choose the right design? Or maybe it's like to achieve a certain goal, like conversion. Did most people buy the actual item on the first design and they didn't make it to buy the item on the second design? And try to figure out why that is. There's always going to be a little bit of room for interpretation, but it's pretty fascinating. And sometimes a really simple adjustment, like flipping a circle and a square, can mean a huge amount of difference in impact or revenue or whatever it is that you're trying to do with that design.
Right. That's really that's a good point. In one of the previous projects I worked at, Fidelity, we sort of had similar situation where a transaction flow at certain order, but based on the A/B testing that was done, the data showed that the pattern that were used was sort of slowing them down because in certain countries people use they have different banking processes than how it is in the USA. So we had to make changes to the interaction based on that. So it's always that's very correct point that your user group will define based on how their culture also plays in the little user interaction, which we might think won't be a big deal. Any questions about the quantitative research topic? All right.
No question.
Another method of research is called qualitative research. Uh, Quantitative and qualitative research sort of goes hand in hand if you really think about it. Quantitative research is about quantity data to support your decisions, and qualitative research sort of collects the subjective, descriptive feedbacks. So this includes interacting with the user groups, having conversations, observing how they use your application, and written materials. And it also answers the following question: why and how? Like why user does something, some particular action while using it, and how they do it. Like all of you, without even realizing, have touched on these topics while you were explaining the problem spaces you observe, like why people are having this issue or why you want to explore particular topic and how you want to go ahead with it or how you are doing it right now versus what how you would like to explore in your application. So qualitative research is about the depth, like you want to go create get more insights, motivations and feelings from the user groups. And in this bootcamp, the friction hunt and the empathy interview are the qualitative. part of it. And you will not be talking with like thousands of people. Uh, you might end up talking to five people who are a potential user, but you will understand their behavior and emotions toward completing that task very deeply. And the methods will be user interviews, creating focus groups, and shadowing, watching them how they use your app. And this will be helpful for identifying your problems. Maybe it will help you to understand you need to update your design in certain way, understanding their emotions while they're conducting the task, and discovering the root cause of the issue that they're facing in their current experiences. Anything you want to add, Jacqueline?
No, I think that was a great overview. I really like just thinking about these two, quantitative and qualitative, as complements to one another. And sometimes, what you hear someone say, like, I really struggle with the login flow, you'll see complemented by the quantitative, like people not being able to reach the screen on the other side of the login screen. So definitely use them together to kind of make sure that you have a story around the data that's validated through what you're hearing people say or potentially do if you're observing their behavior. It doesn't just necessarily need to be them talking. It could be you watching them try to navigate a certain workflow or, other ways of observing their behavior live as they navigate the application.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Um, uh, just to give you an example, like we put in a screenshot of you probably encountered this type of survey or feedback link from different apps that you use or services that you use, where they want to learn about how your experience using their service have been. Um, like Jacqueline was mentioning, for an example, like somebody who's trying to log in or check in, how their experience have been so far. And based on this is one of the types of qualitative research methods you can use to collect that data. And earlier, as I was mentioning, interview and or shadowing how they use your application via video recording. That's another way of collecting that information. So while you would be doing your qualitative and quantitative research, there are other sort of subparts to it that you will end up working with. One is attitudinal research, and another is behavioral. So, attitudinal would be the self reported thoughts and feelings that they themselves give it to you. And behavioral research would be you observing the user interaction. As earlier I was mentioning, the shadowing would end up in the behavioral research where you will be observing